Good evening, YouTube. This is Kaylin String coming at you with my regular Sunday night dinner, and I am back on my normal schedule for who knows how long. Remember, last week I was not here because I had come home kind of late from the White Eagle powwow, and I just wanted to relax because I worked hard at helping to start to break down the huge camp that we set up and putting things away, clearing out the teepee that I stayed in and all that stuff. So emphasis here so far, and I decided to go ahead and get into some of the stuff that I got from Mike Kreischer in the last box that he sent me, the one that was heavily damaged, but none of the items inside had been compromised except for the two candy bars did get heat stress, so I threw those in the fridge, and then after they chilled up I just went ahead and ate those. That coffee crisp and the other one. But everything else was intact and accounted for. So tonight I'm going to get into this little box. I had done one of these once before, but it was a different menu. I don't remember what the menu was. I don't think it was beef stew. But this, it's a bag held over with a piece of tape, but it's sealed and it's made extra big because you can use this as your trash bag. So I'll just rip that tape off. So I'll just go ahead and cut this open. And I will use it as such. I will use this bag as my trash bag. So the top of the bag will go in it. And I'll put that piece of tape in there. So the reason why this is so small is because it is a freeze-dried ration. And this has some tape on here. So here is the entree in this tall bag with a gusseted bottom. So this is the beef stew. A survival food bar, which I will not open. These are very similar to the other commercially produced food bars, like the the Mainstay or the Daytrex, Seven Oceans, or any of those other ones. So I will keep this one intact as is, and it's even in a gusseted pouch. Little accessory pack, which did get some damaged because the spoon broke through the plastic. So this drink mix fell out of there, so I'll just tuck that back in there for the moment. Two full-size Oreo cookies in there. Peanut butter and dark chocolate snack mix. So that's a snack mix I had not tried. And the last thing out of the box is Skyflakes crackers. And this is a silver pack, so I'm not sure what the difference is between this one and the original blue pack. So this is a tall bag, so I will have to go get my my longest teaspoon in order to mix this. There's the Carlos Perry in the house. This one calls for 10 ounces of water. There's my Crusher in the house. The Beef Stew Survivor Ration is what's going to meet my tray tonight. Won't be able to see that well, so I am going to take a light and I'll shine it down inside the bag so you can see the contents in there. So I will mix this up first. See, it says let stand for 10 minutes. So I will take care of that first. And the water bottle I got is too big for what I need, so I'm going to swap it out for a smaller one. There's Garden State Gardener in the house. Thanks for dropping in. I'll check out your latest 100 Days of Seeds video later. Although you can still get in on that if you want to get in on his 100 Days of Seeds. So sometimes it may take him a day or two to catch up because of his schedule and all that, but so I just got a paper towel so I could wipe up any little bit of spillage. This is contents of the accessory pack, so the grape sun-kissed singles that will go into the drinking jar. The Folger stick. There's this little spoon. I will save. That will go into my supply of plastic utensils for long-term emergency. That wet wipe will go in the same. There's coffee creamer. A packet of sugar. And a little packet of salt. Wyoming Adventures is here. Thanks for dropping in. Then these little salt packets, I like to keep these for my camping food bag because they are great for travel, and as long as you keep these dry. You could put these in those little pill pouches like I do for the seeds that I personally collect. You could use those for all kinds of things. And so you could put some like little salt and pepper packets in there. Keep those in your bug out bag, your get home bag, or any of your emergency kits. Or even for just your standard camping or hiking pack, and you want to have a little seasoning. That's one way to keep it dry. Or I just keep them in Ziploc bags, and they go into a dry bag. I've got 2 Jolly Ranchers. I'm just going to put all of these items back into this box for now. Yep, it's beef stew. Oops, sorry about that. Let me fix that. These types of things are all sugar free, so they have a lot less powder. They take up less time to dissolve. So I am going to bring back the kettle for the coffee, and I will bring back another bottle for the drink, because I wasn't sure what all would be in here, how much hot water would be needed or how much cold water would be needed. So I will go ahead and get a smaller bottle that will work for this. And these drinks are intended for your standard 500 ml water bottle, but I tend to like them a little strong. So I'm just going for what my drinking jar will hold. There is Cliff in the house. Thanks for dropping in. Or the color looks like the color of a kid's watercolor paint or a washable paint. There's just a tiny dribble of water left in the bottle, so I'll just pour it in there. Oop, I missed, but oh well. I'll be right back. I'm shaking the stew pouch. I'll go ahead and open up the rest of these. This might have taken a little heat, but we'll see when I open it up. A little chocolate kind of melted into the bag, but that's okay. It's got big chocolate pieces. It's got M&Ms and the peanuts. Oreo cookies. these crackers did get a little broken up, but that's okay. I'll probably be breaking them up into the stew anyway. Now I'm going to go back through the chat, see what I missed. I'm sure I missed a few going back and forth. It doesn't look like I missed anybody. Yeah. But see, bars like this, I like to keep in, again, these are good to have in a bug out bag or get home bag, or ones that are packed like this, you know, in any kind of emergency kit, or you could give this to someone who may be in need of some calories and some quick energy. So, like Mainstay and I think some others do sell like the single day bars where there be enough that's supposed to provide the minimum calories for one day. Or you can get the 2-day one, like the 2,400 calorie packs or the 3,600 calorie packs. The single day would be like obviously the 1,200 calorie pack. But this one bar has 265 calories. Yeah, these are very thin saltines, and these are made in a variety of flavors. I've had some of the flavors. I would like to have more of the flavors because I think they're the most awesome crackers you can get. You can find them on Amazon. They can be a bit pricey, but if you find them on sale or at a price that you don't mind paying and the shipping is not too much, then go for it. Oh, that's a crapper. I'm glad you were able to get back on with a new one. And yeah, it'll take some time. What might help you is if you know that a channel that you're subscribed to has a list of some channels they like to promote or just plug. They may have a list of them in where it's the channels tab. You go to the main page and you see the channels tab. It'll be near the community tab and all that. If there are channels listed that you remember being subscribed to, and you can always immediately hit on that to check to see if you're still subscribed or if you need to resubscribe. Or if you're no longer getting notifications, sometimes you may have to unsubscribe that channel and then resubscribe. Then you can hit the notification bell. And that may still work for people. If for some reason you find yourself unsubscribed to a channel or you're not getting notifications at all, sometimes that trick may help get those notifications back, but then even if you do that, you're not always guaranteed to get notifications, because I don't get notifications for all the channels I'm subscribed to. But then I'm also seeing names that I do not recognize, so I'm assuming those channels must be ones that I'm subscribed to, but they have changed their name for whatever reason. There is James Ortiz in the house. Thanks for dropping in. There's a little bit of powder left in the bottom, so I'm giving this another mix. This box had inspection date of June of 2031. So this is made, I think this is probably packed a couple of years ago, or 2020, whenever these were first produced. So these crackers are still tasting as good as ever. And because they were sealed in that plastic bag, in addition to being inside of the original wrapper, that helped them stay fresher. Bag is so tall, I moved it off camera in order to mix it. I want it to stand a little bit more. You kind of tell that this probably took a little heat in transit because of what happened to that M&M and that chocolate, but it'll still be good. I'm not worried about it. It's just like eating any other trail mix with the peanuts, You know, the chocolate chips and the M&Ms. I'm going to try peanut by itself. It also has peanut butter flavored candies, but I think they kind of melted too. But I don't think these peanuts were roasted or salted. I'm not tasting much of that. That's a candy coated peanut. Oh, I was wrong. These are actually Reese's Pieces. That's what these are. These are like Reese's Pieces. Cyanide cookies in the house. Good day, all the way to Australia. Hope your Monday is starting off pretty good. Now, this is one of the items that I got from Mike Kresher. So these were not numbered in any way, just whatever the main entree is that was put onto this box. These are Oreo cookies. These are the Skyflakes crackers. U.S. Emery crackers should be like that, with actual flavor. And this is a grape, a sugar-free grape. It's called Crush, like the Crush soda brand. It's the grape. And it does taste like, sort of like an uncarbonated version of that grape Crush soda, with the usual aftertaste of the artificial sweetener. For the most part, I avoid those, but what I like about those packets is they are so small. So I keep some of them in my brew kit, in my camping food bag, as well as I got some in my get home bag and my bug out bag. I even have a couple of them in my purse, along with a couple of the coffee sticks. So the beef stew is still hanging out in here. It's tightening up a little bit. It's going to be a little bit liquidy, but what I'm going to actually be doing, I'm going to break up some of these crackers and put them down on the bottom. You know, people around here, they like to put crackers in certain soups and stews, just like chili and other soups. It gives a little bit of texture, especially if a lot of the other bits, like the veggies, are really soft, or you just want a little extra something in there. Well, there's corn in here. There's the beef is finely minced. There's carrot, there's peas. So it came out pretty good. There's onion in here. Oh, there's Garden State Gardener has been a member for 7 months, and he dropped a super chat. Thanks a lot for that support. That's much appreciated. So there's supposed to be potatoes. There's onion. Doesn't say what spices other than the paprika. And yeast extract, and I think we know someone around here who might know what that is also called. Of course, I know too because I happen to like that stuff. But yeast extract is another way to put salt into a food. Crackers are soaking up some of the broth. And there's a version called Marmite. It has a slightly different recipe than the Vegemite, but they are very, very similar. And I happen to like both. But all of the veggies and the meat in here rehydrated very well. Yeah, it may take a few times of eating it to get used to it, but for some it may not take any time at all. I mean, the first time I tried it, that's good stuff. That was the first time I had gotten into a CR1M, and I tried that. It was then in just your standard brown tube like the jam and the sweetened condensed milk, just labeled as yeast extract. And then the last CR1M I got a hold of, it actually had the Vegemite logo on it, and it was a yellow tube with the red writing on it. Like the company was either allowed to put their own labeling on those tubes when they were packed for the Australian military and possibly New Zealand as well. They may use the same thing in their rations. I'm not sure, but you know, or maybe they they were asked to. I'm not sure how that worked, but that's pretty good stuff. And after you open it, you don't have to refrigerate it, which is also nice. So I hope you have had a chance to check out my little video from the powwow. I didn't get to film more of the performances because I was busy with the kids' crafts, or I took a meal break and had my lunch or dinner. But I was able to record a few of them. And one of them that I recorded, this is the tie-down dancers. This was their first time participating. Some of the others have done it in the past and have come back to do it again. Yes, Spicy Tuna Rolls is here. Thanks for dropping in. But I did show what my setup was like inside of the teepee, how I was using part of the space in there, and the rest of it was used for storage. And then some of the dancers or other performers would go in there and either change into or out of their performance outfits. Because it was very close. And a door, kind of a makeshift door, was put on to the handprint teepee, which is the one that I slept in. So that made it convenient for those people to go in there and change. Some of the other teepees did not have anything to cover the entrance hole. So having one that does made it very convenient. It is close to the circle, the platform that has the 4 colors in a circle. So that worked out very well. So I was able to use my cot. I did have an issue with trying to put one of the spreader bars. I was not able to get one end of it locked onto the one of the frame pieces that run along the length of the cot, but it still worked. It held up. And of course I discovered that my air mattress needs a pump, because what I thought was a pump sack was just the cover that's permanently attached to the air mattress, which I thought was a kind of an odd way to do it, instead of having a separate bag to put it in when it's packed up for storage or transport. So I will invest in a pump that I can use with that air mattress. So I basically just laid it on flat and then put my sleeping bag on top of that, and that worked fine. And then those 2 collapsible totes that I have that are made by the company Nature Hike. They're called collapsible boxes, so they're somewhat rigid, but they can be folded up for storage. So they were sturdy enough to not only put my duffel on if I wanted to put my duffel on it when I was not getting into it for other things, or I could use it as an, when I'm organizing stuff. And then the smaller one I had at the head end of my cot that I would set my, I had a little radio in there in case I wanted to listen to weather. And I placed my camping light on it. And I put my phone on there. I plugged it into one of my power stations. I took one of my power stations. I took my Olight O station because I'd never taken that one out on a trip. I've taken my little Tac Life one before, but I took my Olight O station so that I could charge my phones. And if I needed to charge something else, I took a larger flashlight, but I never needed it. And my headlamp, I only used a few times, so it did not need to be charged. But in case I needed to charge that or someone needed to charge something, I could have let them take a little juice off of that. Plus, I just wanted to get it out, give it some dirt time, so to speak. And I have another little phone that I took a phone that doesn't have service, but it has an alarm on it. So I used that one purely for an alarm instead of the phone that I'm streaming on now. So I used that little, the smaller version of one of those Nature Hike collapsible boxes, to put those things on. And plus I had my Trekology chair that I'd won off of another channel's giveaway years ago. And I took that down to where the craft area was. And when we didn't have enough chairs, or shorter chairs for the kids, they sat on it. And so that worked out pretty well. I don't know why I did that when I have my spork in here, but yeah, so that worked out pretty well. Actually, there might be one that might be up your alley, Cliff. I watched a video on a channel called The Outdoor Gear Review, and he originally reviewed one by a Japanese company that's a memory foam inflatable mattress, and it self-inflates without you doing anything to it, almost to like up to at least 70% of its air capacity. Then all you have to do is just add a little bit more air if you think you need it that firm. So today, the video he showed an inexpensive version by another company that's almost identical in structure. It's slightly smaller in width and length, so that one may be more cot friendly than the Soto one. But because it's a memory foam, you can compress it for storage to put it in its carry bag, and then you just open up the air valve and it'll start to inflate. So the foam will expand to its full thickness, and you can add a little more air if you need it. So that one might be more to your liking, and the one he showed today, at the time he shot the video, the price was less than $80. Whereas the Soto one was $300. So that might be something you could look into. So it's not just air inside it. I hope that helps. Yeah, I had that happen with my Intex air mattress, which is the size of your standard twin mattress that, it's the same length and width as my mattress on my bed. It's not the same thickness, but the last time I used that thing, I had inflated it with, it's got a foot pump that really had not been working, but I somehow managed to get it inflated, and even with the valve closed, there were leaks. So in the morning, the first morning, it was pretty much flat. So when we packed up from that trip, because we camped on a friend's property, when we went to dump our trash in the dumpster, that air mattress went in there. I thought, what's the use of bringing that home if it's just gonna leak? And so I had been looking for another one that did not have that foot pump, because I think that might have been part of the problem, because that thing was really hard to work out, because you step on it, it immediately, you push down on it and that pressure closes off the valve, so the air really can't go in. But this Coleman one does not have an air pump. One of those foot pumps that I pretty much found rather annoying. So I just decided I'm not getting anything like that again. It just has to have the air valve, and that's it. And I'm thinking about getting one of those pumps that looks like one that you'd use to inflate bike tires, or maybe motorcycle tires or car tires, if you want to spend extra time to do that, to try to get up to that 40 psi or whatever. But it's the Coleman brand, and when I looked at the description, it said that it would work with this particular air mattress. So I think I'm going to go ahead and get that. instead of one that has to be plugged in. Plus, by getting the manual pump, I won't need a power source. So that's another reason why I decided to go that route. Yeah, I don't have big power stations. And my O station, I think, gives like 230 watts is all it'll give me. Yeah, I already had a cot, but that thing is so big and bulky that I will not take it out on a trip where I'm not going to be on it for very long, or I'm not going to have a space long enough to do it. You know, I tried to put it in one tent and I couldn't open it up more than maybe 2/3 of the way. So I just ended up collapsing it and putting it back in the bag. But I'm not going to get rid of that cot because it's a sturdy cot. I have slept on it before. But I was inside of a building and there was a pad that was almost long enough to run the length of it. And so I put that on there. And I just kept it there for the duration of the time that I was using it there. I just had a place I could store it out of the way. And only took it out at night when I would want to lay down on it. But I will keep it as an extra bed, or if I go to a bug out location and there is room in a vehicle and someone needed a place to sleep but not be on the ground and not use a hammock, then say if I was with some other local preppers, then I would definitely lend that cot. But for camping, because I may end up just using that teepee again every time I go volunteer at the White Eagle Powwow. Next year will be the 25th. Would have been the 26th, but there was not one in 2020 because of the big nasty. But because using the teepee actually worked out for me, and I could store craft supplies in there to keep them more protected. Although Friday night, I did take a tarp, so I did throw a tarp over the table. And some of the supplies that we already had, or that we had brought with us, were underneath that tarp. So it didn't rain a whole lot. So that did help, but if I put them inside the teepee, then then we could do that. Thanks for dropping in, Mike. Of course, I would probably still have to throw something over whatever's being stored in there because the smoke flaps were open in a heavier rain. I mean, people who know how to manipulate those smoke flaps could close them up. But it's probably easy just to throw a tarp over everything that needs to be protected. And so that's why I chose to pack a tarp just in case it was needed. Of course, when it came time for the giveaway at the end, all of those little OLED flashlights that I took, all of them had been taken. So that made me happy to see that people had picked them up so they could have a little extra light on them that they could use for EDC or emergency or whatever. There was a great turnout. Lots of kids came to do the crafts. And a couple adults. And a couple of the dancers did a little beading and braiding some of the leather strings that we had in order to add some elements to their dance outfits. And then one guy made a keychain lanyard for his boss and put an arrowhead on it. And of course, the handprint teepee got a few more handprints on it because the kids saw the handprints all over it and wanted to do it, so they did. And they kept asking about the ones that are about halfway up the side or on the smoke flaps, how they got there. I said, either adults did it or those handprints were added when the canvas was on the ground, either before it was set up or when it was being checked out to make sure that it was in good shape, or after it had been taken down, then those handprints might have been added. Because these teepees are like 16 feet tall. And some of the really larger ones can be as high as 20 feet when you get to the really big diameter ones. These are your average 16 footers. There are lots of videos on YouTube about how they're set up, what some of the different designs on them mean if they're painted. There's some slightly different styles, maybe slightly differences in shape, depending on the tribe that used it. They may not all be a perfect circle, they may be somewhat oval, just depending on the style of it. Oh yeah, there are videos on YouTube, by channels. They have these different wall tents, and some of them may tell you the brand or the company that made that particular tent. There are different shapes. There's like the standard cabin style. There's some that are cone shaped that are almost like a teepee shape, the bell tents. Then there are some that are kind of a hybrid between a cabin style and a bell tent. And there are different sizes of each type. TAC of ALK Forging and ALK Forging and Adventures, she owns a bell tent, and I've been in it. And she has a wood stove that goes inside it, and what she does is she will lay down something to put underneath the wood stove to protect the floor of the tent. If she uses the tent floor, because her bell tent, you can have the floor in it or you can leave it, not use it, but she chose to have the floor. So put something down underneath the wood stove to protect it, and if you have to elevate it or put it on something in order to kind of level it out. And there may be something behind it as well. In the cabin tents, you can actually put a hard piece, like a metal piece, behind the wood stove in order to protect the tent wall and also to reflect the heat back in to the tent. Some will do that, and depending on the model of stove they have, they may put it on a platform with a metal sheet on top of that, or they may use bricks just to make sure that the stove is level, especially if it's one that you're going to cook on. And there are also these canopies, like for hammocks. It looks like your standard cabin style tent, but it's not quite as wide. But it has a hole that you pass your hammock straps through. And some of them have a stove jack in it, so you could put a stove in it. It doesn't have a floor, but you could put something down, say underneath your hammock, that you can have your shoes on, so that if you're sitting up to put your shoes on or take them off, you're not stepping on wet or muddy ground or snow or whatever, and just your socks. But Brenda, Tack's wife, she has one of these hammock tents, but I don't think hers has a stove jack in it. It might. I'm not sure, but I've seen one on YouTube where the the guy has one that has a stove jack in it, so he actually put his stove in it. I may do a November trip like I did last year. And I don't know if Tech will organize a Veterans Weekend camp, you know, around the time of Veterans Day, or she likes to invite veterans or people she knows who have relatives who have served, and I have relatives who have served. But last year, not very many came out. I think there are some issues with some people not being able to come out. But the last time I camped with this group, I wasn't that able to do the spring camp that they like to do because it was during Ramadan, and I'm going to have to probably miss it the next couple of years because of the way the Islamic calendar rolls around. But the last time I had camped with some of these people, I used my hammock, so I had my wool blanket. I lay down underneath my sleeping pad. So that plus my underquilt and my sleeping bag kept me pretty warm. I threw one hand warmer in there right before I got ready to go to bed, and that worked. That was just enough to keep me warm during the night. But what they did was, and I have the videos on this, so does Tack and Robin, Redbird 491. They sunk poles, big, long, big, thick logs into the ground vertical, and they're spaced apart for hammocks. So they're arranged in a way where you could have like 5 or 6 hammocks in between these poles. Yeah, because there are not a lot of trees there that have the right spacing for hammocks, but doing this, they made it a lot easier for people who do like to sleep in their hammocks and yet leave enough room for people who still want to use their tents. Yeah, if I wanted to, the sleeping bag that I use in winter, my old Coleman that I've had since I was in high school, does not have a hood on it. So if I wanted to, I could open that thing up completely and just use it like a blanket. The one that I used during the powwow and that I will use in the summer, warmer months, that one has a bit of a hood, but it's so slick that you have to have your pillow could slide around if the pillow itself is slick. But I could open that one up all the way as well. And because the underquilt that I have for my hammock also has a zipper, I could tighten up the one end and I could use that as a top cover if I was not wanting a full sleeping bag. And just lay on my sleeping pad or mattress or whatever. But that's the same comfort rating as my summer sleeping bag. Although I might get an actual hammock top quilt, which looks like a sleeping bag, but there's no zipper in it, and the foot end is closed, and then the rest is open, and you just cover yourself up with it. And you can get those in different weights, for different temperature ratings. I have a super heavy sleeping bag that was given to me. The zipper broke, so it can't be zipped up, but I could use that just to wrap up in if I needed to. And, I don't know where I could go to have the zipper repaired if I wanted to do that, and or how much it would cost to do that. And of course, that's just one thing that I would have available if I need it to keep warm. If I lose power during the winter and it's super cold outside, I could use that if just blankets were were not enough. Oh, you buy these hammock quilts already made. They're just available in different fills for different temperature ratings. There's some with a synthetic fill, some with a down fill. You know, it's the same with the underquilts. You can get those in different types as well. There's Tim Riley in the house. Thanks for dropping in. Yeah, my sleeping bag with the busted zipper is rated at -40. And the person that gave it to me, even in the coldest, that's still too hot because she's actually kind of like me. You, you can get too hot even in the winter when you're sleeping. So I would either use that one, just open it up and just lay it on top of me. That way, if I need to cool down a little bit, I can uncover a little bit, or I can just lay on top of it and just use it as an underlayer, and then have something over me like wool blankets or another sleeping bag that's not quite so bulky. The bulk is what I don't like when I sleep. Yeah, because I don't have a heater on in my bedroom at all. My AC unit that's in the wall behind me, that has a heater function. And so I run that. And I only have it set to 64. And so in the winter, my bedroom is cooler than this room. Of course, in the summer, it's opposite because the cool air from the AC really doesn't reach back there. So it's warmer than I would like it. So I turn my tower fan towards the bed right before I get into bed. And I'm still doing that. You're probably hearing my AC kick on and off. I'm still running that. If my cat wasn't a screen climber, when it gets cool enough, I would open my bedroom window. But because she's a screen climber, I can't do that. I can only open my windows just just enough to poke her head through. And that's it. I can't open them any wider. I've already had to have my screen of my bedroom window replaced. Theoretically, she could have gotten out and taken off, but I'm guessing because of how high I am up off the ground, she was too scared to take that leap. There goes the Garden State Gardener. Thanks for dropping in. Again, thanks for that super chat. Yeah, I have a fan that's actually on my kitchen counter up on top of a couple of boxes. It doesn't face into the kitchen. You know, I don't have a place where I could put it to run air into the bedroom, but it does help move air around. Of course, I have a ceiling fan, but there will be a time where I will have to get out of this apartment and go into another one, because the company that took over this property in April, when a city inspector came in, a company rep told me that they do want to renovate this apartment. I know it'll be a matter of time before management, whoever they are, would want to kick me out of here. And I'm glad I was here when the inspector came, because I was able to show him some things that I figured are probably code violations that the company would need to take care of. There's Nation MRA Fines in the house. Thanks for dropping in. This is on the menu tonight. The beef stew, rehydrated pretty good. Skyflakes crackers, always a winner. Yeah, that's what he said. Of course, I would insist on one with a deck, because I still want to have my plants. And so the apartment that is next to me got vacated recently, because the day I left for the powwow, there was an eviction notice on the door, but the people had already left. And so when the inspector came by, the company rep just took that note down because he opened the door. There's no, no belongings of anyone. Although a plant pot on the deck. So I told the manager, if you clear out that apartment, I'll be glad to take that pot off your hands. So if I can get right into that one, and because it has not, I checked on the listings for available units here. That one is not up for a new tenant yet. So I may make a phone call tomorrow and say, when you decide to kick me out of this one, if I can go into that one, that would be perfect because I could still have a deck and I could have my plants. And I might get a little bit more sun from the west. And I get a little from the east, I would lose that. But I would get a little bit more from the west, especially during the summer. So that I think might help me in the long run. So I will talk to him about that tomorrow. And then, for one thing, that would be an easy move. I would not have to have people come to move things up and down steps. I could just slide it out my door and into the next one. It may take me a little while to do it, but I could do it. It may, if I'm given, say, like a week, I could get things moved over, at least for the most part, arranged. Irregardless, wherever they say I can go, if I stay with, this complex, I will have to pay more in rent than what I'm paying now. Because right now these studio apartments, minimum rent is $700, and the one bedrooms are $725. And that's not including the monthly water use fee of around $25. Which they have not taken out from my last payment. I intentionally overpay on the rent. That way I can have the water use fee covered. But they haven't taken it out for September yet, so I don't know what's up with that. Yeah, $25 a month for water, regardless of how much or little you use. Compared to, say, someone who lives in a place where they have their own water meter to measure their water usage and get billed accordingly, their water use could be a lot higher. Sometimes they've taken less than 25 out, maybe 21 or 22. But I always err on the side of caution and pad my rep payments just to make sure I'm covered for the water use. Yeah, it just works that way for me. Of course, I also want to find out for the repairs that will have to be made, will I be responsible for any of those, especially if it's a problem that is that an actual code violation, like I showed the inspector, the interior doors only had 2 hinges instead of 3. And the shoddy workmanship on the cabinets, or show the bathroom cabinet under the sink, the right side door, it looks, I'm guessing that the frame pieces were or particle board or something like that, because a screw came out, so I tried to put a bigger screw in and it won't stay in. So that means that there's something up with that frame piece if I put a bigger screw in there and it's already loose. Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be some kind of crap like that. So I used a couple of carabiners through the handles on those doors to make sure that the cat does not get in there and try to dig into the trash. Yep, even this Oreo doesn't taste like it's been around a few years. So it's perfectly fine. Yeah, it was definitely junk because last year the one end of my kitchen cabinet was literally ripping away from the wall. So I emptied a lot of the stuff out of those cabinets, took everything that I had up on top. And so maintenance had to send someone in to reattach it and kind of beef that up. So that one is fine. But the doors were put on crooked or the boards had started to warp. So when these apartments were initially built, who knows how many years ago, they cut so many corners. They did not use standard cabinets at all. They just pieced a bunch of crap together. Sorry, brief disconnect. Yeah, there was probably trailer doors would be better than what they initially put into this building. I mean, plumbing has had to be repaired quite a few times. And the previous company that managed this property, they would send out a text blast to all the tenants when the water was going to be shut off. And they'd tell you to fill a few containers full of water ahead of time. So even though I have water stored, I would take some bowls and put them in the tub, fill them up, and they would just sit there. And of course, I have water in the fridge. I got water containers all over this place. But I just filled the bowls because it makes it easy to gravity flush the toilet. I have a little plastic trash can that I use for, I'll put a plastic bag in it. I'll scoop the litter box. And then that immediately goes to the dumpster. I tie that bag up, that immediately goes to the dumpster. But I could use that one because it's plastic and it doesn't leak because I've water tested it. So I could use that as well if I wanted. Yeah, I did not do that because I was not in my apartment that I lived in at the time. I had gone to stay with one of my sisters, and where she lived, she had a well. But she had to superchlorinate the well, and because she had a 6-month-old son and was using bottled water for him, she just got extra for us to use. We could use the well water for bathing and cleaning, but we wouldn't use it for making coffee or drinking or food prep. So we use bottled water for that. Then when I went back to my apartment a couple weeks after that, I was going down to what used to be known as Veterans Memorial Auditorium to their to one of their parking lot where the National Guard had a water truck, and people could take jugs to go fill with water. So I would go get a couple gallons, and then we got the Anheuser-Busch water. So I had a whole flat of that canned water that the St. Louis brewery did and trucked up to Iowa. I don't know how many truckloads of that canned water they sent up here. But I never saved any of those cans. I used them all. Yeah, Anheuser-Busch either took one of their shifts to can the water or more shifts. I don't know how much was done. Yeah, see, because I was in a high rise, and the bottom half of the building was a parking ramp, and then the apartments were on top. But because it was closer to the river, the water went right up to the entrances of that parking ramp. And when one of my sisters, the one I stayed with at that time, she picked me up. Of course, she only told me to pack for 3 days, which was a mistake. Had I known then what I know now, I would have overpacked. So my clothes got washed, I think 3 times during the time that I stayed with her and her son. Of course, she had to go to work to make sure that the building that she worked in at the time was getting cleaned out, and it was a stinky mess. She dropped her steel-toed boots outside before coming in, and then as soon as she got inside the house, she immediately went into the bathroom to take a shower. Yeah, they had these water stations all over not only Des Moines, but other towns that got flooded like that, for people to get water if they couldn't go to a store to buy it or didn't have the money to buy it. So I would grab a couple gallons at a time, and then maybe like twice a week I did that. And if I had the money, I was able to go to a store, then I would go buy some. But having that water station there at the front of Vets Auditorium, a lot of the people who live in the downtown buildings or who work downtown are using that, especially if they, like me, who don't drive and can't go to other places where buses were not able to go. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we were warned that it was coming. So people were just, and not just water, they were getting all kinds of stuff. Yeah, they were. And there was reduced bus service because bus yard is in a low-lying area. And we were talking about it at the last track meeting where DART is considering relocating the bus yard to a better plot of land that's not only bigger, but not as prone to flood. And it could be expanded to hold more buses, expand the maintenance garage where buses get repaired. And then selling the land that it's on now to another developer who would redevelop the land for something that would be more appropriate than holding buses, because a lot of the buses got trashed when the garage flooded, and we had to get buses from Omaha. And when some of the streets were flooded that are normally used by buses, the buses couldn't go there, so we had reduced bus service for quite some time. I was attending summer classes at DMAC, the Des Moines Area Community College. And so when the school was closed for over a month plus, when it did reopen, the summer term was seriously abbreviated. And so either a lot of the requirements would either be dropped or you wouldn't have as much to go through for that particular session, that summer term. So it was pretty much condensed. Yeah, that definitely, I wish I would have started prepping after that, but I'm glad I know now what I wish I would have known then. Yeah, the downtown churches, I don't know what happened to them. They may have escaped the flooding, but a lot of the other businesses that are closer to the river, they flooded. Uh, I think the police station may have, the Embassy Suites Hotel. I think City Hall. What used to be the downtown library that also flooded, that is now, or that has been for the past quite a few years, headquarters of the World Food Prize. Which is kind of the Nobel equivalent for agriculture and agribusiness. Anything in the agriculture arena is covered by the World Food Prize. So the flood did not reach the Capitol building at all, but anything closer to the river they got it pretty bad. When you have no electricity for quite some time. My sister had electricity where she was at, because she was kind of like towards the outskirts of town, not in a densely clustered neighborhood. Yeah, the one that I used to work in, called Papoose, which was a Greek restaurant. I had left there before then, but in order to get into it, I had to go down some steps to get into it. So then after that, it became an Italian restaurant, but I think it was still Papoose back in '93. Of course, the owners who took it over from the original owner, these two guys got themselves into trouble, so I don't know if... I know they got nailed for tax evasion, but I don't know if they got nailed for tax evasion before the flood or after or at the same time. But after Papoose had closed up, it then became an Italian restaurant. Of course, Buzzard Billy's in its original location got flooded out, but now it's in a different location. I have not been in its current location. I was in the former location, but I think it got flooded out more recently. But then again, I don't know. It's been a while since I've been there. But yeah, Spaghetti Works got wiped. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I haven't been into that one that's by Hy-Vee Hall. And that was a strange year. Yeah, I'm bummed about that. I'm really bummed about that. The one time, I think, well, the last time that I was in there was when my mom was serving on a jury for a murder trial. Or no, it was an accident. It was an accident. I think that resulted in death. But she wanted to go to Spaghetti Works or someplace that was close, that was in walking distance from the courthouse. So I met her at the courthouse. Then we walked to Spaghetti Works, had lunch, and then I walked with her back to the courthouse so she could finish her day at the courthouse. So that was the last time that I'd been in there. Well, I had no idea there was a Spaghetti Works in Omaha. Of course, it's been a coon's age since I've been to Omaha, too. So the last time we were there was when my maternal grandmother was alive, and we had gone to visit some other relatives, and we went to the Henry Dorley Zoo. And we got my grandmother one of those oversized strollers because she was starting to have mobility issues at that time. So we took turns pushing her around in this adult stroller. So I hadn't been to that zoo since I was a little kid. So it was fun to go back there. Wow. Yeah, that's some crazy stuff. I had a few of my eye surgeries in Omaha, but I can't remember if I had two of them there and the other three in Iowa City, or I had three of them in Omaha and the other two in Iowa City. I don't remember, but all five of them took place before I started school. And I've had nothing done to my eyes since. Yeah, well, that's their problem. The last surgery I had was back in '07 when I had my gallbladder yanked. And when I got out of the hospital after that, they prescribed me some nausea pills, but I went and picked them up, but I never took them. I never used them. In fact, I still have them. The label on them is pretty much toast by now, but I still have those pills. I doubt they'd be any good, but oh wow. Yeah, I've known some people who went through cancer and were treated there. In fact, I know a Catholic nun who went there for her breast cancer surgery and treatment. But because she got hers caught early, and I don't think she had the chemo because, as far as I know, she never lost her hair. I think because she got it caught early enough, the surgery alone was enough to kick that cancer to the curb. And she bounced back real fast after that. But she had long since retired. She may not even be alive now because she was already. I mean, when I knew this nun, she was already. I mean, she was old enough to be my mother. Oh, yeah, I, yeah, the building one building I used to live in, there's a woman there who had chemo and it really sapped her good, but she bounced back from it. And then the daughter of the couple who are co-owners of Hillel Groceries. When she had her cancer, she's still taking treatments now and then. She doesn't go in as often as she used to, but she will still go in for, you know, for testing and maybe not chemo. I'm not sure what she's doing, but she's still going probably every couple of months or so. Yeah, yeah. This woman was going every 2 weeks for her treatments, and it'd be several hours because she was getting the hardcore stuff through an IV or a PICC line or whatever they were using instead of just a quick shot. I mean, you're spending several hours getting a drip from one or two bags or however many they're using. But she has really bounced back from that, and you know, she's has since gone back to work. Taking care of her kids. Of course, their kids are either in high school or college by now, so she doesn't. I don't, she may not have any at home unless one may still be living at home. But and of course, I've had a cousin who went through breast cancer. I had an aunt who went through it. But this aunt recently died, but not from cancer. It was from another cause. But yeah, of course, I lost my dad and my maternal grandmother to cancer, so I know my risk is jacked up. Wow, that's nuts when it happens like that. Yeah, when my cousin got the breast cancer, she's only a year older than me, and this was like 20 some years ago. She's only in her 30s. So we can't figure that one out. But because she got it caught early, she only had the surgery. She didn't have to go for any of the chemo or radiation or anything like that. When grandmother, my maternal grandmother, got cancer, it was in her bones. She had it in her lungs too, but she didn't, at her age, she was 89 at the time. Yeah, she died in August of '08, and then my dad died in November of '08, so the same year. But because of her advanced age and the way the cancer was moving and how aggressive it was, they didn't do any treatment other than pain management. And she was already starting to have memory issues. Dementia was starting to set in. So my parents got hospice involved. Of course, when my dad got diagnosed with his cancer, which was in his brain, and it had already spread to his lungs and his lymph nodes, and my grandmother's cancer had already gone to her lymph nodes. And my dad only lasted a month after his diagnosis, whereas my grandmother lived 6 months after her diagnosis. So my dad came up here and then he tried radiation here, but it only bought him maybe a few days, as far as we could tell. But to him, that was enough time. Yeah. He wanted to be up here instead of in Arkansas because he wanted to be closer to us. So my sisters went down to get my parents' stuff all packed up, and then my brother is living down there, so he was helping too. Of course, he's now up here, but so he's got a job up here now, so he's staying with my two sisters who share a house. Now, there's a problem with the house he has on his land down in Arkansas, so because he couldn't get any work down there. That's why he wanted to come up here and try his luck. So he's working here, and he hopes to get some money built up so that he could fix up the house he has on his land down in Arkansas, because he's not going to sell the land. Of course, my brother is the one who bought me the microwave that I have now after my other one that I originally got from the mosque. When that one got replaced, so oh yeah. Yeah, that. Yeah, my brother had done some work to that house already when he was able to get money to buy the materials. Of course, he's been a drywaller, so he worked on the house that two of my sisters live in. He did the drywall repair for that house. In fact, we all worked on that house. Putting floor leveling stuff down in the upstairs bedrooms and the bathroom. Taking out old outlets and old flooring and crap like that. We were all doing that. That way it would cost less. Or my second oldest sister, who actually bought the house, because we were doing a lot of the work, especially the demolition part. That saved her money on labor, and then putting the new stuff in, and painting, because we were doing that. Yeah, my sister pretty much only had to hire contractors for some electrical and plumbing. The rest we did ourselves. Yeah. Yeah, we found a few surprises. Like when I was in one of the rooms and I was taking old Jack's covers off the wall, we discovered that they were not the modern phone jacks like we're all used to seeing. It was a totally different type of connection. And that was really strange seeing that because I had never seen that kind of a phone jack before. So apparently back in the day, phones were hardwired by the phone company into the wall instead of you just sticking a cord with a plastic end in a hole. And if you need to replace it, you just pop it out. I know this is something completely odd. Now, my parents would have recognized that. Because that's what they grew up with. But that was completely foreign to us. So that was just one of the surprises we found. Of course, before our family trip, the air conditioner crapped out. And so they're running fans all over the place and opening windows and just trying to keep air moving. But my brother had to work, so he couldn't join us on that trip. But he was actually there at the house when a guy came to do the repair. So my brother got to let my sisters know that the air conditioner was back up and running and the house was being cooled off. So in a way, that was good that someone was actually there when it was done. Wow, that's nuts. Yeah, for a time I lived on the east side on a street called Weingartner Road, and we rented this house. It was a split level. There's nothing really weird about it except for, you know, I hadn't been in too many split level houses by that time, but that was at least a mile to the nearest bus stop. And so I really couldn't go anywhere without one of my sisters taking me, or I get a ride from some other person. So I pretty much stayed at home. Until after I come back from a trip with some other people and I found out that a couple that was invited by a boyfriend was told they could go down into my room and get busy without asking my permission. And then I found the evidence, and I let him know that I was not happy. Of course, the first thing I did was I watched the bedding. Because I wasn't going to sleep on sheets that had someone else's filth on them. So as soon as I could, I moved out of there and got my own apartment. Or I did not have to worry about having to wait for someone to, oh yeah, we might take you. It probably depends on the nationality. Yeah, that's probably close to correct. That would, that may be correct. That's not a name I'm familiar with. He may not go to the mosque on 42nd Street that I go to. There are a couple of small Bosnian mosques. There's one on 63rd Street, the Islamic Center of Des Moines. And there's one that's majority Somali. Yeah, I don't go there because they're not close to bus stops. And being that it's around the corner from that Hy-Vee that's at 42nd University, if we're doing an event and we need something quick and someone has the money and the time to go in there and get it, I've done that many times. I would go in and buy a box of trash bags, or I recently went into that Hy-Vee and I was looking for one of those single-use cold packs to put into the first aid kit, because the last one that was in there got used. And, there was not much left in that first aid kit, so since I'm the one who donated it initially, I choose to make sure it's stocked and replenished. So I couldn't find any of those single-use cold packs, but I found a pack of those cold patches. They're like the Icy Hots or the Thermacares, but they don't get hot. They just get cold. So I figure, hey, that will be even better, because you can put that on and still have 4 left in there. Yeah, so I replenished the first aid kit from my own supplies. I just didn't have any cold packs handy, but when I saw those in the store, oh yeah. So I might look for some of those to keep in my own preps. I have the ones that, like the Icy Hots, the one that get cold and hot, and then the Thermacare ones, or the ones that just get hot, but not the ones that just get cold. So because they're thin and packed flat, unlike those cold, those packs where you have to pop the inner bag in order to start the reaction, they're kind of bulky. And if they pop too soon, they're spent before you need to use them. So these patches, which are really thin, they might be a good option. So I am going to get some of those for my own stash. Yeah, I would not want to smell those if they do completely bust open. But if the inner bag pops prematurely, and that happened to me once. I went to use one when I was providing first aid at an event. It had already been spent before I could even use it, so and I only had the one. I didn't have a spare. So I couldn't help that person as much as I wanted. So I'm definitely going to get me some more of those cold patches. No, I've never seen them completely break open either, and I wouldn't want to. Now the reusable ones, the ones that have those little bead things that you can either heat them up or freeze them. I thought about getting one of those, but then I thought, what if someone doesn't put that back when they're done, if they don't understand that it's reusable and they throw it away? That's why I was hoping to get the single-use ones. But when I saw those patches, I thought, oh yeah, that's even better. In less space than it takes to store one of those cold packs, there are 5 of those patches. Yep. It's probably time to knock this one off anyway, because I'm done with all the food that I wanted to eat. The only thing I did not eat was this. I'm going to hold on to this. Because I like it the way it is. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and call this one good. And all these things that are left in here that did not get used, well, except for the Jolly Ranchers, I'll suck on these later. But the spoon, the salt, and the wet wipe, these will all get added to my stash. So again, I want to thank you all for hanging out with me. And again, thanks to Garden State Gardener for dropping that super chat earlier. So next week, I will probably do that veggie crumble MRE. Open that one up. I think I've had that one, but I might not have had that particular version. But what the heck, I'll just open it up later. Yeah, next week, and see what that one's all about. And again, thanks to my crasher for sending me that big box of awesomeness. So, hope to see you next week, and Catch you on the flip side.